Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another anime episode review. I am the Rat, and this is the Rat's Nest. We're coming to you once again from Hawaii, or Hawaii, as the locals call it. I butchered that. I'm joined, as always, by Kyle. Say hi, Kyle.
Hi, everyone.
I once again apologize. I will go ahead and start this off by saying I am recording this sitting in my bed with a very scuffed recording setup. But since it is mid-show, we're not missing the weekly episodes. Also, thank you all for 450 subscribers. A very cool landmark. I didn't actually tell Kyle that we hit that. Thank you for 420 as well. I kept mentioning that in episodes. And thank you all for your comments, even though I do apologize. I've not come around to reply to most of them, but I will do that after this recording, and I'll read them to Kyle. Just been, in Hawaii buying Japanese manga as it goes. So please forgive the audio quality if it's a little bit weird. And let's get right into it, because this was a big episode, and we're recording this right after watching it. Turning Point 3. I'll also say, real quick, if you're new here, the way we do this, I know everything, and Kyle is an anime only. I've read the light novels, manga, yada yada, everything. I know everything. Kyle's an anime only. So we go through this, and then Kyle says stuff, and then I comment on it, and we talk, and it's a great time. So, Kyle, Turning Point 3.
Yeah.
So I guess I will explicitly say, if it wasn't clear enough, Turning Point 3 is the letter. Turning Point 1 is the disaster. Turning Point 2, the meeting. Turning Point 3, the letter. That is specifically Turning Point 3. If we want to get semantical, Turning Point 3
it's the moment where things change a lot. So going into it, I'll say, I think, and this is nothing against the series by any means. I don't even mean this as a negative. It's just my expectations for Turning Point 3 are going to be were very overblown. But oh no, very I with the previous Turning Points, it was everything went wrong. So with this, it's they did, and while it's still arguably on a much, you could argue it's on a larger scale than Orsted's moment where that was just a fight moment and he ended up living. This is this has potential ramifications for messing up in the long run because he's leaving all these people he cares about, and even his own kid. He's walking away from the birth of his own kid to do this. I was getting a little bit further into the episode, but so just it was on a more mellowed out, not mellow, but it was significantly less severe than what I thought. So I guess I don't know how to feel at the moment. I feel sad, but let's just dive straight into it. We'll talk about the episode, and then we'll get to the letter moment when it happens.
Yeah, Turning Point 3 is a very interesting one in that it's not really like the other two Turning Points. And that's why I've been really looking forward to getting your reaction to it. Because to say more subtle, this is why last episode, if you remember, I can't remember exactly what I said, but Turning Point 3 is really more this arc, which I guess is getting called the Labyrinth arc, which is fitting, right? That's whatever they released a trailer and a new key visual. But really, this is the Turning Point 3 arc, to say more so than Turning Point 1 had an arc or Turning Point 2 had an arc. And
Turning Point 1,
it's kind of similar with the rest of the Turning Points. Though that could be argued, yada yada. I don't know.
Well, because the word it, how I would word it is the Turning Point 1, the following arc was cleaning up the mess of Turning Point 1. Turning Point 2 lasted about an episode. It was kind of small. This one is this turning point it's literally a turning point in it's just twisting what's happening in the narrative right now.
Yeah, Turning Point 1 technically is still going on because they haven't found Zenith yet.
No, they haven't. But I'll say okay. I mean, you're right, but we've on the whole have moved on from it. With just immediately within Rudeus's perspective, he's been to school. For all intents and purposes, that one was put on the back burner, and so it's going back. But yeah, this is the opening to Pandora's box, I suppose.
It's very interesting.
it's a different vibe than the other two turning points because, like you said, it's more subtle. It's not. There's not one moment like, the letter, but like, okay, turning point one, like when that beam hit the ground, everything just got turned like that. Everything got twisted on its head. Turning point two, like the moment Rudeus said, "Oh yeah, I know the man got," and then he got attacked. Like that was the turning point. This is like, oh, he gets a letter and he goes through a lot of contemplating about what he's going to do next. And it's like, I like how you're wording it, where you're saying like it's more of a whole arc.
Yeah, definitely.
Because this isn't a moment. This, or going to rescue Zenith. This isn't something that could happen in one episode. Which I'm guessing if it did, it'd be the most scuffed paced thing of all time.
If they did this in one episode, I would kill someone. Myself. That's who I would kill. So let's just get into the episode, shall we? Let's get into the freaking episode.
So, oh god, it feels like a lot happened in it. So, pardon if my thoughts are a bit scattered.
I'll try to be sure to pop in with stuff.
So, the beginning half or so, we follow Rudeus going through like events with people. Like the very first one is he is trying to start out writing about it's the Superds, right?
Yeah.
So he wants to get the truth out and basically clear the names of the Superds with history because of the war and them getting the spears that caused them to go a little berserk. So Woog. So that happened, and he is just trying to find a way to get the word out. He's been thinking of different ways he could write it, and then before the OP play that I still haven't seen, Norn's like, hey, I could try to help you write it. Roger told me a lot of stories about like his time, so I'd like to help write again. So then after that, OP plays, oh god, I'm gonna get the order wrong, I already know it, but
the order isn't terribly important.
Yeah, so it's basically like giving Rudeus some little moments, some little blips with all the people we've seen so far. Like, he's at his place and Aisha's like, looking a little annoyed or whatever, and Rudeus is like, well, if you want something, just say it. And she's like, I'd like to get paid. And so that they go out and they buy like something for her room, like a window curtain or something. It looked nice enough. He's helping Nanahoshi. Nanahoshi has like this list of the different things she's gonna do, like summon inorganic matter and then organic matter, then an animal, and then try to like send it back. And then they flash the rat. They did in fact flash the rat.
Yeah, I was in the episode. I thought I wasn't coming around till turning point 4. I mean, that's wild. Like I'm really excited that they finally referenced me. That I've made it big enough that I'm getting referenced in the show episode.
And then I think it was him, like just in the room, like where Zenoba's experimenting with the doll, and it's like, oh yeah, well he made a little dragon figurine and gave it to Julie. So basically, you could add in the others. Like it's just him with like going through all of his friends. They're talking to Ellen Elise, Cliff, all of them.
There actually is a little bit of an important thing. Well, one with Zenoba, you kind of get reintroduced to Ginger, right? Okay, cool, good to see her. I like Ginger.
Yeah.
But then with Cliff, this is actually, to say quote unquote the most important of the little blips. But we see him. It was kind of introduced a little, like it was like a very cold open to it. The little section, but we see he's working on a magical implement to counteract Elise's curse.
Looks like a big diaper.
It requires mana to fuel it. It guzzles a ton of mana, so they're asking Rudeus to help, like use his mana to fuel it and keep it going and all that good stuff. Just to help them experiment with it, make sure like tweak it, whatever. It's huge, it looks very awkward, but it's a very cool step in the right direction there. I really like because we get to see him make progress towards his goal. Like, man, that's crazy. Like, that's this. To say it's not just a background thing. It's kind of in the background. But it's nice to see that, like, we're keeping up with Cliff, and he's actively working towards his goal.
It's hidden amongst the other members of Rudeus's posse.
Yeah, it did have a kind of cold open. So
yeah, it just and knowing what I know about the turning point, it felt like they wanted to give Rudeus like one kind of a moment with everyone before he gets the letter, which I guess speaking of the main point of the episode where I think
something very important happens before that.
It's the baby first. Okay, I thought that happened like right about the same time. So
Sophie was pregnant first.
Yeah, so
very important, mister.
I was gonna get to it. I was just throwing it all together.
I bet you were,
dude. It's a very important part of the episode. I can't believe I had to tell you about it.
That's so true. I'm so sorry. I'm such a big fan.
Gaslighting works, guys. So I forget what leads up to it, but they're just sitting there. I don't know. He comes back and Sophie's like sitting kind of awkwardly, and he's like, well, "What's going on?" And she breaks the news to him, and I was just so happy watching that moment where he finds out that he's gonna be a dad, and he just gives her a big old hug, and he starts crying, and he's like, "Thank you." It was just super wholesome to see. Like,
I love it.
He's come, and I said this last episode, but I believe so, but he's come full circle in so many ways, and getting to see like how he was in his previous life, being so recklessly immature. Granted, circumstances built up to it.
I can talk about that for approximately 23, 34.
Yeah. So, just getting to see someone like that be given a second chance and just be so proud and happy that they're a father. It was so sweet to see. It felt Rudeus needed it.
Yeah. And I especially like it because it helps you like realize more, like sink in, like, they're married. They're a married couple. They're gonna have a kid. Like, whenever I first read this part, I was like, oh, like dang, like it's like that's like legit. Like they're having a kid. Like, wow.
You're sitting there reading it. You're like, oh, so Eris just doesn't exist anymore. Oh, okay. So this isn't a bit anymore, right, author? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Oh, so there's really no takesies backsies now, huh? Like, wow.
Yeah, I know. Which then we get to then after that we get the letter.
Wait, we also
right?
I will say before the letter, we do get a very, very cool scene that I like, where we get to see Rudy eating dinner with Sophie, Norn, and Aisha.
Oh, that's
and they get to see like everyone together. It's like, oh, that's really sweet.
That's what he's imagining will happen. Like his dream for the future is to make that. He wants what he had back in, was it Brucia?
It's
big fan.
It's Buena Village. Buena. How do you say it? Buena.
So close. You're looking for Bueno.
That's not Bueno. It's Buena. There's an A at the end.
Ooh, so close.
I'm too Seattle for this, bro. I'm too Seattle, whose capital is Olympia, and not Oregon. Washington. It's Washington State, and Olympia is the capital, not Seattle. Thank you, commenter who said that. I knew that because I live in Washington, in Seattle, Washington. That's where I live. So
anyway, he gets a letter in the mail, and that letter, I believe he says later it's sent from Geese. It just says like shit going south with the Zenith rescue. Send help.
Yeah,
it's basically what it says.
Mm-hmm.
And this is to say that this is the most decisive part of the episode in his decision. Not decisive. He's making a big decision here.
Yeah, so, it's arguably you could call it like a turning point in the episode.
Yeah, or like a third one in a series of sequential turning points that shape his entire life. Whoa, crazy.
That's wild.
So he gets that, and he is struggling, trying to figure out what he needs to do. And then I'm pretty sure he goes to sleep on it. And that's when he sees the man god again. I didn't expect to see him here again. Little
What a funky little critter.
critter.
He came back.
So he talks with Rudeus, and this is my favorite part of when you talk with the man god. My favorite part of the episode, because what is it? He was like, so you follow my advice, and Rudeus was like jumping on his case about it because he's like, you ass, like, I basically, like, I've done nothing here, not done nothing. What am I trying to get at?
Basically, what Rudy was like is he was like, hey, you told me I'd regret going to Biggery, which is where Paul and them are. The Biggery
okay,
company.
yeah.
So
So he's saying that he regretted.
you told me I'd regret going there, but now they're saying they're having trouble with Zenith. He's like, so what's the deal? What's the deal?
Yeah,
and
should I regret going? Should I regret going? Should I regret staying? Like, what do you want me to do here? Like, make up my mind for me, man, God. And
Hitagami's like, look, dude, you would have regretted going, and I'm keeping my stance. He's
and
like,
then he lists off.
Like, if you went, you would have missed your sisters. And he's like, they would have come up and you wouldn't be here. And Rudy was like, oh, well, they only came here because I sent my letter. He was like, they would have just still been with Paul. And Hitagami was like, no. He was like, why would Paul keep him with them? Lilia, his family, and Asura, he would have sent them to be with them. He's like,
and then he lists off other reasons too. Like, you made a lot of good friends here. You cured your ED. Like, you've gone through so many changes. Like, you would have regretted not being here for all of this.
Yeah,
you would have still been.
You have a wife and a child.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Even. And
I love it when they called him out too. And he was like, you didn't have any regrets until yesterday, like,
Yeah, pretty much, like, until you got this letter, like, you were fine.
You weren't complaining.
The one thing that the man god said that really resonated, because Rudeus was like, okay, like, what should I do? Like, should I stay or should I, leave? Like, what do you want me to do? Like, what's the decision here? And he's like, well, if I stay, I'm gonna have regrets, but if I don't, I'm still gonna have regrets. And the man god's like, yeah, like, exactly. Like, life isn't easy. No matter what you pick, there's going to be regrets on all fronts. Like, you can't have everything. Yeah. It just felt like a very mature thing to say to him. Like, even though Rudeus has matured so much, it just felt like another little thing to add on. Like, hey, you still don't know everything yet. Like, no matter what, you can't have it all your way. There has to be some sacrifices made for what you want.
Even to looking at maturity, I mean, we can see a bit of Rudeus's immaturity still too. When he's like, why am I gonna regret it? He's like, why is that gonna be the outcome? And Hitagami's like, look, like, I'm not gonna tell you. And he's like, don't get greedy. He's like, most people don't even get this. He's like, I'm here giving you advice. He's like, when has my advice led you astray?
And he's not wrong. Granted, he's been withholding information, but he has not told Rudeus a single lie. Yeah, right?
Every single time he has given Rudeus advice, it's been helpful. It's objectively helped him out every single time.
And because he ignored it once, right? And the man gets like,
he's
I tried
never
to tell you.
It.
Oh, okay. I thought that might have been a point where he did. Yeah, every time.
This is the first time he's ignoring Hitagami's advice.
At which. That's, yeah, we'll get to that. But he has this conversation, and then the man god was funny, where he was like, yeah, decide for yourself, self. He was like just trying to leave. Rudeus is like, hold on, wait, like, get back here, tell me what I need to know. And then he wakes up in a cold sweat in his
No. He did give Rudeus advice.
Oh no, he did.
Are you suppressing? Yeah, because Hitagami was like, well, here's my advice.
I'm sorry.
Don't go to Biggery.
Okay. A lot
regret if you go to Biggery. What you got to do? Wait for the mating season.
So.
Choose Linnea or Persena.
And just cheat on your wife.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You'll be very happy.
I feel bad for neglecting this information. Just a lot happened.
It's a very important plot point. It's Hitagami's advice. We don't get very many of those.
Okay, well, he gives advice, and Rudeus. Sorry, I guess what I should have said is, like, he gives him advice, but Rudeus is still like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I'm not gonna cheat on my wife.
I'm not cheating on my wife.
He's like back talking this advice, and the man god's just trying to like wrap up the conversation, and Rudeus, not really having any resolution to what they talked about, especially with the weird curveball that the man god threw, wakes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
and that's when he wakes up and his wife's like, oh, like, are you okay? Like, you're thinking about it. And then after that, I know like Rudeus pretty much spends up to the last like little portion, which we'll get to. The rest of the episode just trying to like consult people and ask them what they think that he should do.
Well, initially he says that he's not going. Whenever he's talking with Sylphie, he's like I can't leave her because it's a year there. It's a year there. It's a year one way. This is a minimum 2-year contribution. Like, yeah. I'm not gonna be there for the birth of my first child, and I'm gonna miss like the first like year plus of their life. And that's if I get there and then leave, not even counting how much time he spends there. He's like, I'm not going to leave.
You can spend years there.
Yeah, like he's like, I'm not going to leave you to do that. So initially he's going to follow Hitagami's, I mean, not maybe follow his whole advice, but he's not going to beg her.
Yeah. He was going to figure out the cheating on the wife stuff a little bit later, but he was going to take that first bit to heart.
Mm-hmm.
But then, what happened that made him like change his mind?
Well, because he's talking to a couple different people, right? And the first person we see him talk to is Ellen Elise, and she's saying, she's like, you don't need to go. She's like, you need to be here for Sylphie, and she's like, I'm gonna go. She's like, I have no connection here. She's like, I can't. She's like, you have your family here. You have everything here. She's like, you can't go. You're about to have your first child. She's like, me and Cliff. She's like, I'll just break it off for him. She said that's best for him. He has the potential to be Pope, right?
Yeah.
She's like, it'd be best for me to just end it here, and for him it's just a bit of youthful folly, right? She's like, I'm gonna go help. She's like, you need to stay here. But then we get to see him talk to Zenoba, who has like the opposite thing, where Zenoba's just like. It was like, oh yeah, well, have fun. He's like, I'll catch you later. He's like, I eagerly await your return. And Rudy's like, oh well, I thought you'd try to stop me or try to say join me. And he's like, if he asked me to join you, I would, but I'm not really used to traveling, so
I would only be a hindrance, is what he tries to explain.
And then he's like, if you have any doubt at all, you should go. He's like, children still grow up even when their fathers aren't watching.
Yeah, because that's what he says. He's like, that's the one piece of advice I want to give you. Like, even if you're gone, like, regardless if you're standing in the room or not, like, your kid's still gonna be, life's gonna happen whether you're there or not to see it.
Yeah, and he's like, I'll protect your family. He's like, I'm here for you. He's like, I've got you, dog. He's like, I'll make sure nothing bad happens.
All the people in Rudeus' life, like they'll back his decision, but that's the thing. They'll back his decision.
Yeah.
They can't make this choice for him because of like how monumental this is. This is do I stay and potentially risk losing part of my family, or do I go and risk potentially, quote unquote, losing it in another way? Like, what if he's gone for too long and he doesn't have a good relationship with his kid? He doesn't want to have regrets, but kind of like what the man gods tried to explain to him earlier, like no matter what route he picks, there's going to be some form of heartache or heartbreak or something bad that's going to happen. You can't avoid a bad decision here. You can't clone yourself, go two places. You got to tackle one or the other, and it's up to what he truly wants. And I like that. Everyone's giving him advice. They're like, we'll help you. I'll do whatever. But like, no one can make that decision for him.
That's one thing I really like about this. Like, watching the episode and reading the light novels and all that, is the differing perceptions people like have. Like Ellen Elise is like, no, stay here, and Zenoba's like, you should go. Like this isn't an easy, clear-cut decision. Like it's not black and white. It's gray. There's no clear answer here. Each choice has its pros, has its cons. Like this is arguably the biggest decision Rudeus has faced this entire series.
Yeah, because like looking at the other turning points, those weren't really decisions. Those are more like imposed calamities.
He did not choose to meet Orsted.
No one would choose to meet him. I mean, you saw Eris and Rougier, they had like the icicles out their ass during that meeting. No one would willingly choose that. And same with the mana claim. It's like, yes, I'd like to get hit with something the size of a nuke. and that teleports me away from my family and sends me on a multi-year journey that would eventually lead me to meet this dragon god who would probably kill me because I said, no, a man god. Yeah, no, he didn't choose any of that. Very reactionary at that point. This is a more proactive Rudeus. He's not just reacting to what's around him and trying to manipulate the circumstances to, work in his favor, like going to, get tutored for that job and then, working at that. This is like, okay, I am more mature now. I'm a better person. I'm going to be proactive about this and make my choice. I'm going to choose. And he initially chooses, even after all that, I believe he's like, yeah, I'm going to stay here. Not going to go. I'm going to stay here. And then I don't know if anything happens after that, but he's back at his house and he's like, checking on his sister. Like he opens the door. I think he like checks in on Norn, and Norn's still awake whenever he does that.
Yeah.
And then he's sitting outside, right? He's just like sitting outside, thinking on things still. And here comes Norn tottering out of the house, like wearing this humongous, like wearing the gear you'd go on a quest or a journey even.
Yeah, an adventure.
And she trips and falls instantaneously on the ground.
Hilarious. It's a really good bit.
It's good. But then after that, Renee's like, what are you doing? And she's like, well, I'm going to go rescue them. Like, if, like, you're just going to let them die? Like, you're not going to go rescue them? Like, that's it?
Yeah, she's like, if you're not going to go rescue them, I will. She's like,
I
they
will.
need help.
And
like,
Rudeus,
mom and dad need help. They sent you that letter because they need help. And
then he finally,
earlier in the episode, Rudy is looking at stuff and he's thinking over. He's like, well, it was Geese that sent it, not Paul. So maybe Geese went down there and he sent this before him and Paul met up. Because I don't know if it was said in this episode, but it's a thing. So it was sent with express mail, which typically takes about 6 months to get up to a thing. Which is still really fast for, this time, but, 6 months. So he's like, this was sent a little while ago. He's like, they could have resolved now. He's like, it was Geese, not Paul, that sent it. He's, he's thinking through all these different things. But
mental gymnastics, almost, like trying to just like coping, like, oh, they're okay. They don't need me. They don't need my help in any way. And then it's like Rudeus would kind of, he'd kind of feel like shit if he just sat back and did nothing while his family's potentially already dead, in the process of dying, or will be dead.
Yeah. And seeing Norn go out there and be like,
waffle
why?
And fall
like,
over.
Why aren't you going to save them? She's like, you're strong. You can travel. She's like, obviously I can't make it. But if you're not going, who is? You're like, they need help. Like, they can't do it on their own.
The strongest person who's most tied to this situation isn't going, and that like really upsets Norn. And Rudeus is like, all right, you know what? I'll go.
He's like, I need to go, because he's like, that vision that I see of everyone together, the
it's not gonna happen.
Village. That's not gonna happen if I don't go. He's like, I have to go and make this happen.
You can't talk with Paul if Paul isn't alive to talk to,
Exactly.
Same as, it's weird. Like, I'm assuming Zenith is very, very, very ultra omega important, obviously, but like, I only saw her a little bit in the beginning of the series, and that's been kind of it.
It is very interesting, the importance of Zenith versus the screen time so far of Zenith.
Yeah, like the Shanks of this story.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I could. Man, we got her name mentioned. We saw her in an illusion. Ooh, I'm stuffed.
Man, I'm stuffed. This is great stuff, I tell you what. But yeah, no, I mean, getting to that is what makes Rudeus be like I'm going. He's like, I need to go. And
seeing his sister struggle, and he's like, if she's right, if I'm not going, then like who would? Who that's closely tied to the situation would be going, if not me.
Yeah, he's like, there's no one else. There's no one else. They need help. I need to go down there and help. He's like, I owe them at least that much. He's like, Norn, the weakest person, can't go. He's like, he's like, she can't go whatsoever. Yet she's still going because she cares that much.
And
So
I will say
have
this.
to. I have to.
Sorry,
Go. And he decides to, and that's a pretty big decision because, you know, that's 2-year journey. 2-year journey. He's gonna miss the birth of his first child.
2-year minimum.
Arguably, most importantly, he's going against Hitogami's advice.
Now that brings me to what I was going to say. I was going to say, and while this episode didn't have anything like tragic, like, you know, no death or anything for whatever. Like, I'm not out of the woods just yet. Or I'd just say we are not out of the woods just yet, because if going off your wording and that this is basically the start of like the Turning Point 3 arc, like the Labyrinth arc, things could still go very south at any point. So even if my thoughts on this episode aren't correct, who's to say that what I'm thinking won't apply to a future episode? Maybe Rudeus gets there and it's like, oh hey ma, and then she's like a corpse or something. I don't know what could happen.
It's really, really open. It's very. I wish that I could remember what I was feeling. I will say, I just remembered. I got whenever I was reading through Mushoku Tensei the first time, there were 2 plot points I got spoiled on.
Are they in this arc?
One of them is this arc. I got spoiled on something in this arc.
Ooh.
And that's how I kind of like whenever this started, I was like, that's probably and then the other thing I got spoiled on was like a reveal in the last volume. So that kind of, I didn't even know it was that big of a reveal. And so I just kind of went through the series like knowing something that I wasn't supposed to know until like the second to last volume.
Oh.
Not like I didn't know the context of it, but they were saying some stuff, and I was like, oh well, I know who that is. And I was like, okay, I don't think I'm supposed to know who that is. I was always waiting for the reveal, and then like it finally happened, like second to last. It
changes the like how you perceive the story, because like that's a big thing with spoilers. If you go in knowing something, then you don't get to enjoy the period of ignorance. You know, you just kind of like there's no mystery there. There's no like excitement whenever there's like, oh, we're trying to play with the mystery.
Oh, I mean, it was still mystery and excitement because I just knew basic facts. I didn't know how it pertained to the story.
Okay, that's fair.
That's part of the reason why I'm really looking forward to getting your reaction to stuff. Like,
yeah,
I get to live vicariously through you. You're like my child I'm forcing into to play soccer because I never got a chance to growing up.
You're like if some chef had a rat controlling their movements in a hat or something.
Yeah, we talked about my cameo in this episode, right? I feel pretty darn important. I thought they were keeping me in the basement till Turning Point 4.
What scares me is that he's actively going against the man god's advice, because up till now, right, like everything that the man god said, Rudeus followed his advice. He trusted the man god. Yeah. And it's not that he doesn't trust the man god here.
I trusted. He was like, fine, I guess I'll do it.
Loosely. He loosely trusted the man god's words. He trusted them more as time goes on, but like he followed the advice regardless of the semantics. Yeah. He still did what the man god told him to. Uh-huh. So the question on my mind is, and I know you can't give a solid answer because that would spoil, I don't know what the ramifications of not listening to the man god are going to be. That's what concerns me the most. Like, is it just a slap on the wrist, which I know it won't be? Is it going to be something like some more severe? What is going to happen since he is not listening to the man god's advice? Is it something as simple as what the man god told him? Like you're not estranged, but like you're not going to have a good relationship with your kid or something? Like, is it like a long-term drawback that's, not going to show up immediately? Is it going to be something really bad, like he encounters a certain someone who's going to ask him again if he knows the man god, then kill him when he gets to the Labyrinth City? Worsted. Is he gonna see Eris and Eris is gonna kill him? I don't know. anything
I mean,
anything could
speaking
happen.
like purely the most base level thing possible, like
You could cheat with
Hizogami has
arrows.
already told him what happens if he goes to Bakery. You'll regret it.
Yeah, but again, what magnitude is that regret? Because you could, it's like either you could go for something as small as like, oh man, I regretted not getting this food item, like the one I got didn't taste as good, oh man, to like, oh, I regretted not taking this turn on the road because I didn't do that, someone ended up dying. A lot of people died. Like there are different degrees of regret, so it's a question of how much is he going to regret this. And I'm excited to see. That sounds really morbid to say. I'm excited to see Rudeus regret all of his life actions with all of his friends end up dead. It's great. Like,
I can't wait to talk about it.
He's gonna leave the school, and it's like, oh well, because you left the school, you're the only thing that was stopping like people from like nuking it. All your friends are dead.
I'll also say, congrats. We're out of the slice of life.
I know. It's okay. I like the slice of life stuff, but I am happy that we're getting back on the road again. The parts of Mushoku Tensei that, just reflecting on season 1, I think that were my favorite overall, were more of I'd say like the adventure and the side stops they made along the way. Like when he found Paul, and still, I think that might be it's still in my top favorite Mushoku Tensei moments, where
of the moments so far, that's my top. Like, of the moments animated so far, that is my favorite moment in the show.
I mean, like that, it's hard to beat. Like it really is hard to top that. Like just the insane level of detail that went into the writing. Just it's hard to top that. And the slice of life stuff's been good. And I'm not, it sounds like I'm building up to a negative, but it's just like I'm happy that there's more excitement now. The slice of life felt like it kind of went on, maybe not too long, but you know what I mean. Like we've gone a while without. It's a change of pace.
They're always fun.
It's a turning point, if you will.
What? No way.
It was such an important turning point. It's like, okay, we have a big, clear like focus now. Well, not now.
There's definitely a little, quote unquote, a little more direction.
Yeah, and because with the slice of life stuff, I mean, we knew, okay, in season 1, right? That had a lot of direction there. It was like he went to that town, he almost killed himself. That might be might be a top shit. Not even for the meme, like that might be a top moment where Soldat was like, dude, don't kill yourself.
I love Soldat. I appreciate him.
Goes up, shits on Rudeus, saves his life, leaves, comes back, leaves. Just, he's cool. But like that had a clear goal. Like you're going to the school, and also there was a lot more being established there. Like there was more, not mystery, but like starting up season 2 again. Like you're already feeling the vibes, Like season 1 had a lot of the setup. Like, oh, you get to see Fitz. You get to see the gay arc.
Oh, you mean part 1 of season 2?
Yeah. Like you could word it like that, like a part 1 of season 2.
Yeah. I mean, the first half of season 2. I mean, the whole school arc, everything. Volumes 7, 8, 9, even 10 in the first half of 11. To say like, oh, just some setup. But I think it really reintroduces a lot of characters that were met in the first half. And some relatives in the case of Linnea and Persena, where we met their families, but not actually them yet. And it reintroduces them in the context of where they're going to be.
The school.
A little bit, right? I'm not going to say anything much.
I know.
But it reintroduces them in this new context. I think that's a good way to word it. I love it. I love all of it, but I'm also so ready and excited for the Labyrinth arc, or as I call it, whenever I say Turning Point 3, I am referring
the whole
to
thing.
The Labyrinth arc.
Okay. And it's also like the beginning of this episode too. I'm happy that the letter showed up and that there was a big direction change because it kind of felt like more of the same. And don't get me wrong, it's not that I like seeing what's been happening, but it just kind of felt like, one thing with writing.
When the story continues from a continuous point, it kind of feels like, man, this is kind of flowing.
Sometimes, man, just following characters like in a kind of state of routine, like it can only hold interest for so long. Like,
yeah, forever, because it's mid-show and it's peak fiction.
No, it's mid. It's literally in the title. But,
oh my gosh.
I will say the second half of season 1, and I know it's also been how it's presented to me, like with the anime and all, but it at least like they got married. The second half has done a lot to like continue on the vibes, but it's like, okay, Rudeus got his goal. He cured his ED. He got married. So it's like, okay, you think of it. Like when you get your goal, it kind of becomes stagnant, like you get your goal. You got like, Norn and Aisha that show up. So it's like a new, I guess kind of, I'll word it like this, like a goalpost. But now that it's like, okay, Rudeus has solved almost every problem on his plate. Like, is that it then? Like if this letter didn't show up, would it just be more of the same?
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's what makes like these stories interesting. I like when there's tension and conflict, and just him. He's worked hard to complete all of it, but it's just one of those where it's like, I want to see the next thing that Rudeus has to tackle on his journey. I like the school. I've thoroughly enjoyed the school arc. There have been many great moments. Who could forget moments like who getting the best panic attack? I can't forget. Those were good moments. But
great moments.
I am happy though that we're moving on to something like bigger and more exciting in its size.
I mean, turning points are pretty important.
They are. This one was, as you said, more like a subtle one, where it's like, he's not subtle. I mean, it's a letter that's telling him make a choice, but like there was more. He's been more proactive with it. Like I said earlier, it's his choice.
Exactly.
Yeah. So all in all, good episode. I am very excited to see the rest of, and I'm gonna go with your wording. I'm just gonna call it the rest of Turning Point 3 arc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. I mean, there'll be some Labyrinth arc stuff. I'll send you some stuff on Twitter too. I'll look over the key visual in the trailer and see if it's safe or not.
Yeah. At some point, guys, I will get to watch the OP. I have not seen it yet, and I really want to.
You got at least 4 more episodes until you can.
Yeah, I'm guessing there's gonna.
Part of what the OP spoiled was the Labyrinth arc itself.
Okay,
so you see plenty of footage from it.
So let me ask you a question: is there like in the OP? Is there a moment that's like one of the big moments of this arc that they just show in the OP?
Yeah.
So
there's like
1 or 2 dozen of them.
There's at least 5.
Oh my god! Why would they like? They just portray it as Requiem?
Technically speaking, the big moment of this arc isn't like explicitly shown.
But like, if you inferred hard enough, you could probably.
Oh yeah.
Is it like Trader's Requiem, where it's just like they kind of show all the big stuff in the?
I'd say it's worse than Trader's Requiem, honestly.
Oh my god.
Because Trader's Requiem, like if you didn't know what was going on, you could still like see and be like, "Oh, that was a cool OP." But like you'd watch this one and be like, "Oh."
Oh. Well, I guess I have a whole nother. You said 4 episodes, so like a whole nother month or so of getting blocked from watching this OP and looking at anything about it, because I'm trying to be a good anime only, and you guys, you people who've read the story make it really difficult with your spoilers online.
Yeah, just avoid Reddit at all costs. That's the worst.
I'm not talking about the rat's nest people. You guys are good. The
nesters are legit. But yeah, the mid-show community, especially, I'm not on Reddit a lot. I'm on Reddit for sports. That's it. But woof. Anyways, we're getting pretty off topic. Kyle, would you like to? Are we ending the episode right now?
I think we're ending the episode right now. Good
Well,
episode, and I am excited to see what happens next.
I can't wait either. Well, if you're this far in the episode, then obviously there's something like. So make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us what you thought about this episode. Thank you all for watching. I'm very glad to hopefully get this up at a somewhat normal time. Hawaii is a little bit different from normal time, but we genuinely appreciate you all sitting down, taking the time to watch, especially longer episodes like this one, talking in at 45 minutes. Thank you all for watching. We certainly hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.